Okay, I never know how to start these things. Okay. Alrighty. So, my name is Scott with the Great Lakes Game Library, and I am here to do a little bit of playthrough for our new game, Wheel to Wheel. This is a racing RPG, so it's a little bit competitive, like most sports sims, but it's also meant for, a bit of storytelling. And I've been doing a racing series as part of a playtest to make sure that the game is ready for the final run, but this is going to be a little sneak peek of how the game works. Uh, so I have a racing series here with 12 drivers in it, racing for 6 different teams, and we are racing at Monza today. So I have up on one of my monitors this book, which has all the charts that you would have for a race. So you can see our 12 drivers here, and then the race up here with the qualifying and the 5 laps. And then on another monitor, I have my dice, just so you guys follow along with what I'm looking at, as well as the racing tables. So these are the tables that are in the back of the book, sort of the quick reference. And all the drivers are set up. We've been taking actions for all of them throughout the week, and that's one of the cool things about Wheel to Wheel is it's sort of designed so that every week everybody on their own time sort of plots and plans and puts their car together. The GM puts it together, and then for our group we usually did Friday night race night, but you can stick it on to any existing game night, or even have just the GM roll the results and do a recording or a play-by-play, depending on your group's fancy. But that is there's a lot of flexibility here to make the game very accessible. But today we are going to get into the race, and we are going to start with qualifying here at Monza. And I haven't been rolling weather for qualifying, just makes it easier to get right into it. So each car, as you can see, has 5 different stats as well as the driver. For each stat, you have a performance, which is the number of dice rolled for the most part. Where we are in the season right now, these are two performance, 1 performance. I see a couple of 3s. We're starting to get there. And then you have the reliability, and that is the second column. And that's the total value that your dice can reach before you have to roll for a risk. You can see that here on the table. But if you are rolling, and that's where bad things can happen. And that moves up and down in increments of 4, so you can see 4, 8, 12, across it. So each lap has its own thing. We're here at Monza, the Temple of Speed, so we have aero, power, and control, which are sort of the 3 defining features of the car that we're going to be relying on. And here I'm going to highlight those just for own purposes. But then every driver can also choose 1 lap where they are going to use their driver skill, guts and focus, to see how it all, or to advance. Now there is a bit of strategy on when you use it. Do you use this to cover off, like Flint Tenderbrook here is probably going to use driver skill to cover up control, or do you save it for the last lap, particularly in a track like Monza where it's pretty easy to overtake? Will have something, or usually something like that. Drivers have also chosen a couple of features through their actions. We have our practice actions. Hopefully the recording's going down far enough. Okay. Practice actions on the table. And those are going to be, and those sort of help plan the strategy for the racers. For qualifying, they have to choose, each driver is going to choose one of these 3 that they're going to utilize. There's no we don't do risk rolls during qualifying because it's not that fun to have your car explode during qualifying. So we're going to go through with everyone. If you chose they chose to put their car into a qualifying trim, they're going to get an extra 2 dice. And I think it's just these first 2 drivers here for the Team Stallion Motors that took that action. So they're going to roll 4 dice. They're going to come up with a total of 15 for Henderbrook. He's rolling using power, so he uses the 2 from power plus the 2 from qualifying for that. Radon Swang Song is also going to do 2 plus 2. 16, so he barely gets past his teammate. Esteban Debris didn't take the action, but has a 3 in performance for his engine. The best performing engine on the grid, but still comes up just short in qualifying. His teammate Gonzo Cheese has been left with the lower of the 2 cars. That is how this team is running. The Big Cheese Racing is one of the elements of the playtest where they have decided to put all their resources into Esteban Debris, and Gonzo Cheese is here to just raise money for him. Certainly something that never happens in open wheel racing. I can't think of any recent examples. Rip Valentino, he's going to have a power of 2. Comes out to 9, and we are ignoring the reliability for qualifying. So if this was a race, he'd have to make a risk roll, but not today. Leo Hager also will use power. That will come up with a 5. Virgo with a 2. Ooh, real rough qualifying for Virgo. Probably got sent out at a bad time, but their teammate, that's what they were doing. They were giving Ezra Brooks a tow, the classic Monza sacrificial lamb, to get their teammate up at the start, despite not having that great of an engine. Max Clementine, he is currently the leader in the standings, so the one to watch today. Him and Henderbrook have been sort of sparring in these first few races. With a 7, Leia Havarti with a 9, and let's see, Destiny Prim and Oliver Close, who have pretty good cars for this track. But, rough qualifying for Destiny. And Oliver did okay, I guess. So, now, that was the first roll of qualifying. We have to set an order, though. So, we are going to have to resolve these ties. Luckily, our first 2 rows look pretty secure. Stallion Motors, which is works well because Stallion Motors is sort of our Ferrari analog, so them locking out Monza is pretty darn cool. Esteban Debris and Ezra Brooks, both tight competitors here. So they're next, and now Rip Valentino and Leia Valentine, or Leia Havarti, are going to go using, but they have to choose something different than power. Luckily, Rip Valentino has Aero, which comes out to 7. Leia Havarti doesn't have much beyond that power, so they're going to get a 5, so not too shabby, but definitely not enough to come in here at 5 and 6. There we are. Now we have the 2 7s, Max Clementine and Oliver Close. Max does have, he's going to rely on control here for 11. And I guess for Oliver Close, doesn't really matter. They're going to do Aero, and they're going to get a 6. So Max starting in the middle of the pack, but this is a track where overtaking is pretty common, so we'll see how it comes to fruition. Oliver Close. And Gonzo Cheese was in there too. So Gonzo Cheese, 1 second, Leo, you're actually moving down. Gonzo Cheese has to come up with a, they only have a single die, and they're going to get a 1. They are a pay driver after all. That makes sense. Leo Hager, then Destiny Prim, and Virgo OC right, hanging out in the back. So we have our starting order set. So every lap in wheel to wheel. Oh, actually, we should do. You see the tables here. Monza is in a temperate location, so we are going to roll just to see if we get anything to clear skies. Okay. Now that that is out of the way. So wheel to wheel, you race 5 laps. And for the most part during the lap, you're going to roll performance die. Hope that you're as close to but not under or not over your reliability die, lest you suffer some sort of risk. And then you sort in order. There are a few important clarifications. So first off is track advantage. So the higher up in the order you are, the more likely you will be at the higher end of the order at the end of the lap. Especially as the race goes on. These first 2 laps you can see an advantage modifier of 1. Laps 3, 4, and 5 are an advantage modifier of 2. So it's easier to overtake at the start of the race. And the way that modifier works is you add, in this track advantage here, you add you add together all the drivers behind you and multiply it by the advantage. So on this first lap, it's just all the drivers behind you. So Radon Swan Song will get an 11, Flint a 10, and then 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then Virgo doesn't get any advantage. He's starting at the end. And to that, you are going to add your performance. Now, for each lap, drivers will get the choice of either using their driver ability, which is right here, Guts and Focus. And that's also this Guts roll, how I have been marking off whether or not they've taken that. Usually a speed boost. And you also have to choose a time to pit. Now, there are some important notes here. One is that you can get a chance to pit throughout the race. You can get a safety car through some of the crashes. I'm not sure if you're able to see that far down on the table. But on the crash table, there are a few chances at a crash. We also have the actually, hold on. I think I can modify that. If you give me a second. Alright, I'm going to make sure that you can see all the tables that we're using, because like most sports sims, this is going to rely pretty heavily on tables. So here, we're going to scooch like that. Now, if I scroll down to the bottom here, you should see the crash table, and I've highlighted, some of these will result in a safety car. So you can rely on that for your pit stop. Banking on a safety car. Otherwise, you choose a lap where you're going to take it, and it is only a single D6, so significantly slower than a lot of these other parts. Or you could choose to not take it and try to roll on this mega stint table, which at the end of the 5th lap, there's a 2/3 chance that you will not be actually finishing the race. You'll blow a tire or run out of fuel. But we will see what happens there. Okay. But with all that in mind, we are going to get started here. And the way decisions are made is they start in the front. So the driver in front really has to think carefully about what they're going to do, because everyone's going to be able to react. Now, Radon Swansong has a pretty good engine. They're worried about Radon and Flint are going to be worried about this last lap here where they only roll 1 die. So they're probably going to save their driver skills for that. And I was thinking about this before the race. I think most of these drivers are going to try to pit on lap 3. This first lap of 2, so they get a little bit of a buffer for the track advantage behind them. Maybe they can sneak in a free pit stop, but it gives them 2 laps to recover if something goes wrong. Alright, so we're going to start with Radon Swan Song. Now, Radon and Flint also have a reroll from some of their driver actions that they took, so they're probably going to hold on to that, though, for in case they need to do a risk roll or something goes really bad. Radon starts. He has a performance roll of 7, which is under 8, so no risk roll required. So you add your performance and your track advantage, and they have a final pace of 18. Flint and Henderbook also just going to start out the line with using their power. A 10, so they might overtake, but they have to roll on the risk table first. They roll a 2. Okay, so 2 means that off of the start they go into turn 1 and they probably broke a wing or something like that. They have to take an early pit stop, which means that they only end up with a 1 in performance. So an 11 is probably going to send them tumbling down the order. They do have their pit stop out of the way, though. That is something that, again, you can sort of strategize around in this game, is maybe you do have to take a pit somewhere. And while this might not be the most preferred, taking a pit while you're in second place at the start of the race, but you gotta get it done at some point. Virgo and Destiny down here might also take that option of an early pit. But we are on Esteban Debris, who has a power of 3 and a reliability, power performance of 3 and a power reliability of 12. They get an 11, so they are going to go flying past up into quite possibly first. Ezra Brooks only is rolling 2 dice. 10, another risk roll. So that comes to a 2. So another broken. Maybe Flint and Ezra collided there. That might be what happened. Flint and Ezra already have a little bit of a rivalry going on. So I think Ezra tried to get cheeky around turn 1 and sent them both to the pit. There's, of course, tables for battles and stuff like that, which could go up. But if the dice tell you something fun happened in one of these games, you gotta go with it. Rip Valentino is gonna take 2 as well. Ooh, another risky. Well, a lot of these cars are pretty. You see their reliability is bad. Oh no! So that is a failure right off the gate for Rip Valentino. Now they will. So when you're doing these calculations, they will still be here for track advantage. You basically try to roll everybody through first. But let's see what happens to our friend Rip here. So they roll, after that they roll on a DNF table, and they came out with just a technical failure and have to retire the cars. So they are going to go right down here to the end of the order for the rest of the race. Or actually, here, I'm going to mark them as DNF too, so I don't forget. So rough ending for Rip Valentino, who doesn't even make it through the first lap, but maybe this is an opportunity for some of the other drivers. Leia Haverty coming up with another issue. Nope, safe. So, there is something to be said. You have a 50% chance of surviving a risk roll without an issue. So, normally it's fine, and you can ignore that, but it's not a problem until it is a problem. One of those things. Max Clementine with a 7, staying right under that, redlining his machine. Oliver Close. And we missed something because some of these cars... actually, the start's only Rip Valentino at the start, which he already exceeded. So a start would mean you roll an extra d6. So Rip and Ezra, luckily it hasn't mattered because they would have had to roll their risk die anyway. But we'll have to remember that when we get down to Leo Hager here in a second. Gonzo Cheese, who only has an engine reliability of 4, definitely going to need to make a roll. And on a 4 is just barely safe. There. Leo Hager is going to roll 6. Alright, I'm going to have to re-roll Rip Valentino, though, because he also had a start. So we're going to do him again for sure. Ezra did not have a reroll, so it would not have impacted him. This is one of the things I'm still trying to remember the flow of all the rules as we're working through, making changes to the game. So I do apologize for that. But before we go any further here, we're gonna. Rip Valentino's lucky; he's gonna get a second chance on life in this race. So Rip is going to roll start, so he's going to roll 3 dice. The start giving him a +1 to performance. 13. Okay, so that's what they want. A risk roll 2, and they are going to re-roll that. And they still get a 2. So broken part. So they are still in the race, luckily. They've used their re-roll. But they have also joined the group that has to take an early pit stop in all the chaos. Alright, Leo Hager is also going to roll 3 dice. 12. Taking a start is risky, but it has paid, or taking a start boost is risky, but it has paid off here. They rolled a 4. 14, so a great start for Leo. Destiny Prim. 2, reliability of 8 for the power. So 7 total. All good there. And Virgo is... Where are you? Here. Power 2, reliability of 12, so they have nothing to worry about there. And here we go. So Esteban Debris up into first place, followed by Rain on Song, Leah Havardi, Leo Hager, Flint Henderbrook, right? Oh, Max Clementine ahead of Flint Henderbrook. 11. Now we have these 2 10s. So this is going to be a wheel-to-wheel battle. Using that table there. Scroll down a little bit so you can see it. So we are going to roll a single d6 and see what happens. Roll of a 5, they touch, and both cars have to make a risk roll. So we're going to do Oliver and Gonzo. Oliver is safe, and Gonzo has a broken part. So another just real sloppy start here. I promise they aren't all like this. But this ends up putting Gonzo at the back of the pack during a pit stop. Or during a, if it happens during the wheel-to-wheel battle. So they go tumbling down the order. So that was 10, 9 with Ezra Brooks. Hold on. Oliver Close. Yep. Ezra Books. And then Rip Valentino and Destiny Prim also had an engagement. And they roll 5, so another risk. Rip and Destiny. Rip ends up going wide, so they lose out of it. Or they would lose out of it if Destiny Prim didn't end up with a failure off of that. So Destiny Prim out of the race. DNF. Rip Valentino holding on to that spot. Here, Virgo is going to end up in this last location. And Destiny Prim out. Now let's see what actually happened on the DNF table. 3 out of control. So different tracks have different types in wheel-to-wheel. Some tracks are considered strict. These would be mostly the street circuits. Think of Baku, Monaco. Tracks where you have nowhere to go. Monza is considered a forgiving track in this series, so it would be, so the driver is able to find runoff and has retired. So Destiny Prim, no crash, good. It limits the amount of damage that's been done to the car, but is out of the race nevertheless. So that is the first lap, a very chaotic lap, of course, but we are on to lap 2 now. So We'll do the track advantage again. And now that there's only 11 cars in the running, it does bump down this. Because Destiny Prim is going to be out of the race. Does bump down the track advantage, but it stays, it will still be enough of an advantage for Esteban, who for Arrow is here. Now the question is, when does Esteban take the guts roll and also the pit stop? And I don't think either really makes sense right now. The guts roll, probably save it to the end in Monza, particularly you're looking at this 2-4. Like, that doesn't seem great on the car. So I think Esteban is just going to go for a regular Arrow roll, get a 6, just keep it together. Esteban has had some trouble finishing races so far in the standings. So, up at the front, they're going to try to take it. Take it to the end and just try to remain competitive and try to get some points on the board. Radon is, let's see, Arrow, 2-4. So this is going to be a tricky one for Radon, but they have that reroll in their pocket. They're going to try to hold on to it. And I forgot Destiny has had a reroll as well, which they probably would have burnt in order to stay in the fight. So we're going to reroll Destiny's risk die. Okay. And it's a big change. This is, yeah. So, Destiny does stay in the fight. Did go to the back of the pack because of the battle, I will say. Ended up being a broken pit, so Destiny used the reroll. Had to take an emergency pit stop. The modifiers for pit stops don't count for emergency stops. That's only for routine plan stops. So there's that there. Anyway, where did we leave off? Radon having to make a risk roll. And they go wide. So this is an interesting one. Does Radon use the reroll here? Usually for ones like these, I do a 50-50. On an even, they will reroll it. It went odd, so no, they're going to save that. They think they might. They know they have to roll Arrow again. They have a chance of a risk. Going wide, they just lose the track advantage. So not great. Sliding off the road, but they do get to stay in the race. And with an 11, like, that should be enough to beat some of these guys down here. But that does... nope, they're holding on to the reroll. So, Leia Havarti, Arrow of 1. So just 1 die. Who's up next? Leo Hager. Arrow is 2 dice, so a 2 and a 6. For 8, they are redlining that machine. Doing well there. Max Clementine, who's looking at this, looking at the poor Arrow on their car, how they do okay in control and do okay in power. Some really slow rolls up here. Yeah, I think Max might do their guts roll early. And just try to get out to the front here. Roll a 13, so that does engage a risk. Oh, and they pushed it too hard, and let's see, Max is over here. They pushed it too hard. They rolled a 1, if you saw in there before I took it down. They don't have a reroll banked, so nope, Max is took control of the car way too far. And ended up DNFing, and I think this is the first one that is actually going to stay a DNF. Forgot how many drivers we gave rerolls in this race. But Max is out of the race, which is great news for his rival in the championship standings, Flint Henderbrook, who is following right behind and is going to take their 2 Arrow. Just nice and easy. keep trucking forward. They will have to have a battle with Leia. We'll resolve that later. And then Oliver Close down here with a really gutsy car. They are going to roll an 11. They have to make a risk roll. And that one is going to actually take them out. They've already used their reroll. So they have to roll on the DNF table. They roll a 4. They are out of control. But, as we mentioned with the track the way it is, they're able to find some runoff and DNF gracefully. So, 2 DNFs on the lap. Tough one. Ezra Books up. They're going to use their arrow. They have a bit more reliability. But not quite enough for that. 12. This may be a heck of a roll. Oh, not 16. 12. That could be a big game changer if they're able to survive this. Roll of a 4. They are safe. Okay. Alright. Rip Valentino. Arrow 2-8. With a 6. Stay relatively uneventful there. Virgo is also a 2-8. 3. Rough roll in there. And Gonzo Cheese with a 3. Trucking right along. Destiny Prim. Another 2-4. 7. See what the risk is. And survived. Okay, so that in mind, Esteban hangs out front. Then we have Leo Hager and Ezra Books here. They are going wheel to wheel for second place. The lead car stays ahead in the battle. So, where were we? So Leo Hager does stay ahead. Now we're at a 12. Leia Havarti and Flint Henderbrook are going to battle. And at a roll of a 4, the car behind passes. So Henderbrook up into 4th place. Leia Havarti falling down the order a bit to 5th. 12. But not as far as Radon Swan Song, Rip Valentino, and then Destiny, Virgo, so 5, 4. We are missing someone. Who are we missing? Oh, Destiny Prim. There we are. Destiny Prim. With a little bit of movement as well. Alright, lap 3. So I mentioned on this lap, people who hadn't pit yet, this is when they're going to gun for their pit stop. And I think that's going to include Esteban. I don't know if anyone is going to be gutsy enough to try to go for, at this point at least, a mega stint. Maybe we'll see halfway through this lap we might have someone who goes for it. We have 9 drivers left, so track advantage is 9 times 2 for Esteban, so 18, and then you can just count by the way the track advantage system, you can just count by 2s now. 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 0. And then, of course, our 2 DNF drivers don't count. So, but now Esteban has a little bit more of a buffer, as much as you can have on this track. Most tracks will go up to 3 here at the end, so the last lap you do have a pretty locked in place, but it can be hard. So Esteban is going to roll for pit stop. They get a +2 because they practiced pit stops during free practice. So they get a 5 there. The 3 plus 5 plus their track advantage for 23. That's pretty decent there, and they get to mark off that they took their pit stop. Leo Hager is also here, they are going to... Yeah, they're going to roll their pit stop too. They did not take it. And they end up with a 4, which is pretty solid. So that... Next up is Ezra Books, who already took their pit stops. So this is a power lap again. They are going to just rely on power and see if they can get something for it. They roll a 6, but here's where early advantage, even the track advantage here has helped out Esteban, keeping them in front. Same thing with Leo. So these two got a pit stop, and Ezra is still not able to catch them. Flint, Henderbrook. I'm debating if for the lulz, or for just to see different strategies, if they would go for a guts roll here and try to overtake the field. And I think they might, like that's a gutsy enough decision. So they are going to roll that, and they push the car perfectly for a 24. So Flint Henderbrook saw everyone pitting, went for a push, and as of right now is probably going to be leading the race. And they already took their pit stop, so that's a pretty big deal. Leia Havarti has that pit stop, so they're going to go for it. 3 plus 5, 15. Radon Swang Song is going to go for it as well. Only a 4, but they're going to mark it off. Rip Valentino already took that one. They have power. I'll say on an even they'll use their guts. No, they're going to just do power. 9. Oh, they are going to invite a risk. They'll be safe. But play it well. Destiny Prim here. Power is one of her strong suits, so they're going to just go for it. Virgo does need a pit stop. Oh, and they roll a 2, so pretty rough pit stop for them. Gonzo Cheese is gonna, just go for it, see if they survive. 7, so they do have to make a risk roll. They end up going wide, but they had no track advantage to begin, so they could just go flying. That's an interesting thing. I might have to debate if that's a bug or if I don't care if the person in last place can go wide without any repercussions. They still have to roll on the table, and that's still going to give them, a chance of a failure or having to make another pit stop. So I'm not too worried. But, alright, Flint Henderbrook goes out in the front due to their early pit stop. Esteban right behind, and then Leo and Ezra fighting for that last podium spot. Here's the battle. And the car behind passes. So that would be Ezra Books right behind there with Leo Hager. That was the 20s. Now the 15s. So that's Leia Havarti and Rip Valentino. I think battling for the second time today, right? All the way back on lap 1, it was... Oh, Rip and Destiny Prim. So, alright, car behind passes again. So Rip Valentino up into 5th. Leia Havarti down into 6th. Radon with the pace of 12, followed by Destiny, Gonzo Cheese, and Virgo. Alright, and everybody here has taken their pit, except for, of course, Oliver Close and Max, who are out of the race. So now it is gonna be, this last lap is mostly gonna be people trying to set themselves up for a finish. So same track advantage as the lap before, same modifier 2, no new DNFs. Alright, so because I think a lot of people are going to wait for their guts roll the end. Now Flint needs a good roll here. They get a 9. Do they get to keep it? Yes, they do. that out. Esteban Debris is probably going to hold on to this 4. They might not even... this is where some of the strategy of wheel-to-wheel gets interesting. Is like, do you use that here to try to fight for it? Or, for this last lap, I think, obviously, they got to hold on to that. What am I saying? That's 4 dice, and the 12, while there's a risk there of, not nearly as bad as rolling 2 dice on the last lap. They're all looking at this control, which is sort of the wild card factor so far. So Esteban is just going to roll 2 dice for Arrow. Red line it, go right up to that reliability mark, but they are good. They're not quite fast enough, but they are still going to be well within striking distance of Flint Henderbrook. Ezra Books is going to follow suit, also with an 8, but that track advantage means they're just following behind. Leo Hager back here, 2. Roll of 9. They do have a reroll in their pocket, but they won't need to use it yet. So that's huge going into the last lap with a reroll. Rip Valentino. Arrow of 2. Again, a lot of these drivers are just waiting for that last lap. Sort of getting into striking distance. 15 not as good there, though. Leia. Roll of 1. 2, which I guess keeps them from falling too far down the order, or keeps them at least from not breaking down. But tough spot there. Radon. 2. Now they have only a reliability in this system of 4, so they are going to definitely draw a risk roll. They are not going to need to spend their reroll, though. So that's going to be an interesting question, because if you roll low with a system and you reroll it, and then you roll way too high and you have to make a risk roll, you don't save that reroll. So you can work yourself into a crash if you're not, if you're unlucky. But, these are drivers. They want to push the car to their limits. Someone doing that right now. Destiny Prim, 6. Reliability of 4 in this system. Gonna have to take that. Oh, and they're gonna have to roll a DNF. 5, they crash. Okay, so now we're going to the crash table. This could be chaos, though. If she forces a safety car here... Nope. Okay, so 1 fund and damage for Destiny. So 0-0. No safety car, but that is 1 fund in damage. So this is a great time to talk about the wider game. So, these cars and these stats, they have been improving since the start of the season. You're doing development, you're fitting parts to cars, you're making prototypes, you're talking to sponsors, you're doing training, all sorts of stuff like that. And one of the things you have to keep an eye on is your funds throughout the race. Now, in the case of Avocado, they have nothing right now, so they're going to go a little bit into debt. They're going to have to spend some time, selling merch in order to keep everything together. But 1 debt is not too bad, but you could be pretty low, and then if you end up here in a situation where you're losing 6 funds or 4 funds, that could really set you back and halt all sorts of stuff with your team. 1 fund, that's pretty unfortunate. But could be worse. Alright, Gonzo Cheese. Rolling single die. 6. 6, so they are safe. So Gonzo can drive well when he wants. Right. And then arrow for Virgo. Ooh. Snake Eyes, that's not great. Does move up a spot nominally, though, because Destiny Prim failed. But up at the top, this is what we all care about. Flint Henderbook, Esteban Debris, and Ezro books. Flint and Ezro, you know, two strong contenders for the title this season. Esteban hoping for his first win, or first podium even, after a really rough start. Leo Hager coming in 4th. Definitely can't count them out. Radon in 5th. Rip in 6th. Leia. And then Gonzo in 7, 8. So, alright, we have 8, so that's going to be 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 0 for this last lap, and now we are cooking. So, and here's where it's going to get interesting, because Flint is going to use that reroll to try to get something. Oh, and rerolls it to another 1. 17. That's not going to be enough. Flint is pretty well cooked. Using that guts early was not the move. It might have seemed like a good idea at the time, but ultimately not it. Esteban is pushing with all 4 dice to a 10, so they don't have to make a risk roll. So, great news there. But Ezro, you know, getting 10 with 3d6 is not that hard. 14. Ezro has to make a risk roll. 3 goes wide on the last lap. Out of the running. Disastrous mistake near the end. And that's going to send them down the order too. Esteban looks like a shoo-in now for this. Let's just put their guts. But we have a lot more high rolls coming. Leo Hager here with a 9. Not quite enough, but that does secure them 2nd place temporarily. Does that? Okay, yeah, they don't even meet anything there. Do they? Here's where I was talking about. Do you use that reroll now? I don't know. You know what? I will say on a 5 or 6 they reroll it. Nope, they don't. Okay, Radon also pushing. 17. Ooh, yeah. 17. This might be enough to save their bacon. It is. Oh, Stallion Motors with a new hero in Radon Swan Song. Moving them up the order. It is a risk roll, but there is a reroll there. And it will be spent by Radon. First 80. So holding on to it to the end. Radon Radon, who started at pole, dropped a little bit, has come roaring back up after falling into the midfield for most of the race. And that's going to be tough to beat. Rip Valentino, though, will give it a try. Oh, I don't even know if they could at this point. 12, so line it. 18. Leia Havarti with 4 dice, so this could potentially be it. 17. Alright, they have to make a risk roll. Safe 17. That is going to be enough to podium, I think. See, Gonzo Cheese is going to... Their guts roll is... And this is another interesting thing that I see potentially coming up in the game is doing a guts roll with a 1. If you have a lower guts and a higher focus, like you could sort of lock yourself in and protect a lead pretty well. You know, give yourself a buffer and escape wrath. But in this case, performance of 1 isn't really going to cut it. They're probably going to end here at low. Virgo is going to push with this guts up here. Did Virgo ever take a pit stop? I don't know if they did. You know what? They are going to. I did not. I didn't look at this, so I can't make a decision off of it, and that doesn't count. Um, yeah, I think for the heck of it, we're gonna do a 12, and all right. So I'm gonna give them 12, and we're gonna do a mega cent just because we can. And they blow a tire, so they end up with a crash, minor crash only, for Virgo. So Destiny Prim DNF, Virgo OC DNF. Let's see. Virgo is on here. That's going to cost them 1 fund throughout the season. But 4 DNFs. And let's see. Radon Swansong wins the Monza Grand Prix. Esteban Debris in second. Spectacular finish. They're going to be very happy with that. Leah Havarti coming in with another great finish for Mega Drive for the team that's leading the championship, actually, right now. So that's good news. And as you can see, we are, with the smaller field, using 9, 6, 3, 2, 1 for the scoring instead of the modern, like, what is it, 25, 20, 18, you know, how they do it nowadays in F1. Leah Havarti, that's 21-19 next with Leo Hager. Rip Valentino. Flint Henderbrook with that colossal air falling all the way down to, the car just not having it, falling all the way down to 6. 17, Ezero Books, though, right behind him. And Gonzo Cheese here rounding out the finishers. And ladies and gentlemen, that was a race. So even with all my rambling and missing things here and there, it's late on a Sunday, so I hope you can give me some judge. Took about an hour. These races go, I've had them go significantly quicker, though, with, they could get done in like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So that is what a single race looks like. Now, what I'll continue to do after this, and this is going to depend on how you're playing the game and how you're playing your league, of course, very customizable. We're going to assign points to people, so Radon is going to get an extra point, actually, for qualifying on pole, and then the fastest lap was Flint Henderbrook with a 27 here on lap 4, so that is going to be also that's also going to be worth a point. Teams are going to get funds back so that they can rebuild their cars and they can continue to improve and go on to our next race. And drivers are also going to pick up, I think every driver here except for Oliver and Max is going to get some experience as well to improve as well. So thank you for watching. We hope you check out Wheel to Wheel when it hits Kickstarter here in March. And have a great rest of your day.